You mentioned that international students need to become innovators to be successful. Can you explain a little bit more about what you mean by that exactly?
Yeah, and so there's a perception that students from Asia are very good at imitation, that you tell them what to do and they'll deliver something on spec. I think that for students to really stand out, they need to move beyond those preconceptions, and those preconceptions aren't necessarily fair, but this is how the typical American university administrator looks at international students. Mm-hmm. So if an international student can show, no, they're an innovator, there's someone who's created an app, there's someone with an idea, there's somebody who is looking to step out of the preconceived role and really exert some individuality. If you look at the typical American institution, where they're deeply worried about international students is in two places. Are they capable of English at a sufficiently advanced level? Can they read and write at the level required of undergraduates? And the other is, can they work productively in teams? And not just productively as a member of a team where someone else is leading, but do they understand the dynamics of teamwork so that when it's their turn to lead, they can step up, they'll be comfortable saying what their opinions are, telling other people what to do. Because without that, those students are not going to be able to function in the way that elite institutions conduct their classes.
Right.
And that's the big concern. So anything these students can do to demonstrate that, in fact, they know how to do it. And the best way is to actually come to the US and take classes and be successful. So a student who comes to a boarding school in the US for 4 years, well, clearly they've gone to an American high school. They're on par with the typical American student when they're applying to college. But that's not an option for most students. Most students really need to find that one opportunity and take full advantage of it. And so it can't just be coming and sitting and passively being a student, because then nothing's going to stand out. Really an opportunity to come and innovate. And that's why I think programs that involve entrepreneurship, programs that involve design thinking, programs that involve internship opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities, or things where the students are out of the traditional classroom, they're working in teams, they're working like people do in the modern workplace. Those are the opportunities that really are high value for students.
Right, yep, that's really great advice, and I've found that too, and that's, I think, so often a challenge transitioning between the cultures, because students might be more accustomed to receiving information and delivering on an assignment as opposed to shaping their experience. So I think that's great advice for students to look for opportunities to do that, whether attending a pre-college program, starting an app. Do you have any other examples of things that students did that really stood out to you?
Yeah, a couple of things. And I want to stress too, before I go into the examples, that these are not just issues with international students. These are issues with American students as well. But there are so many American students who've gotten over these hurdles that people don't think of it as a problem that is common in America. They think of it as more of an international problem. But I want to stress that these problems are universal. Now, as far as things that really stand out, you don't expect as much to see something like the students from China who dropped out of high school and hitchhiked around the world for a year, or who went, those sorts of crazy things tend to be the domain of Western students from privileged backgrounds. But what you can see very productively is a student who, say, found that he needed to take time to go work on the family farm. And found that as a very meaningful experience, both to understand sort of the economic realities of his community, but also the reason why he's going to college. So these opportunities where a student can show that, or if an illness comes up and they need to step into a role in a family business. I mean, these are not things that involve having to create an app, having to do something out of the box. These are ordinary experiences that many students have, but the students don't realize that these are extraordinary opportunities to demonstrate what they're really made of. And it's easy for students, it's easy for students to walk on a continuous path through school and take their exams and then go to college. But a student who can show that they can meet a real hardship in their life and step away from their studies to take care of their family, and then step back into their studies and be successful. That's a student that a university is very eager to have, because if they have similar difficulties when they're students, the university knows that they'll get past them.
Right.
And this is a thing that the parents often fail to understand. The goal is not to get into college. The goal is to be successful in college and graduate and be successful in life and career. College is just the first point.
Right.
It's easy to treat a child like a hothouse plant and produce something very beautiful, but that has not been sort of tested by cold weather. And now you send them to college, and the first bump in the road happens, and they don't know what to do. Colleges are used to people trying to do that, and when they do selective admissions, they're looking for people who have had some hardship, who've demonstrated an ability to be resilient, and students who've had these experiences in their lives should embrace them and should write about them when they're doing their applications. And really, a choice between taking care of one's family and working in a family business versus coming to the US and doing a residential summer program, a student who does the stay at home and take care of the family well and writes about what they've done and uses that as an experience to learn, that will look better to an American college than a student who has just come and done a 2-week travel study program.
Right.